Welcome to the Global Wellness HQ family of podcasts. We are your international headquarters for resources and ideas and insight in relation to the 9 elements of holistic wellness. Join us as we interview local and international wellness experts and learn how you can implement and improve one element or dimension of wellness at a time. Our experts will share their practical tips on wellness in one of these core areas: emotional, intellectual, occupational, physical, environmental, financial, spiritual, social, or habitual. We created our family of podcasts as a resource for anyone who is looking to integrate the 9 elements of holistic wellness into their daily lives. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm excited. We have our first Swedish guest. So, welcome to the show, Ulrika Karlsson. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for having me, and I'm really looking forward to be here with you today. That's a big question, like, who am I? I think that's like, physiological question that people have been pondering about for thousands of years.
Exactly.
I think that I am a living being under constant evolution.
I love that.
Um, so my intention is to be the best version of myself every day, and that includes to do a lot of inner work, a lot of shadow work. So now I am in this version of myself. But 15 years ago, I was being depressed and suicidal. So my journey has been a lot to heal and to recover, and also to give people the tools for them to do the same. So today I work as a spiritual healer and teacher, and I'm an international author and a yoga therapist. So I help people to reduce or release physical, emotional, and spiritual pain or stress.
Love
That's
that.
what I do. Yeah. And who I am a single mom, 2 kids, and born and raised Swede, the country where Santa Claus, Northern Light, and Vikings are from. So
A good combination.
yes, indeed.
I love that. Now, you mentioned in your show notes that, and I'll include this. You came to a point where you had to choose between life or death, and I really want to get into the inner work piece. But what was the deciding factor that tipped it? I'm going to guess you chose life, obviously.
Yes, good question. I can't really pinpoint just like only one, situation or one thing that happened. It was so it took me a long time to get that depressed and to become, in the state of depletion, burnout, and being suicidal. So it also has taken me many, many years to recover. But the thing that I found out, on my private journey and also in my professional, is that everything that we have experienced and we haven't expressed or healed is still within us. Like all traumas that we have experienced, stress, unexpressed emotions, etc., they are not, gone just because we don't express them. They're stored in our bodies. And we know that we only have access to 5% of consciousness, right? So these 95% of unconscious programs are the ones that are stored in the body as traumas and programs, etc. So basically, it comes down to that we only have access to these 5% of consciousness, but are being governed by the 95% of the unconscious programs. So we are in the illusion that we, make conscious choices. And we might wonder why we become sick, or why we don't have any luck in relationships or our jobs, etc. And these are governed by these unconscious programs. So for me, it has been a lot to unravel, transform, and transmute, like, programs of fear, scarcity, and lack. And the more of the unconsciousness that I release, the more access I have to higher states of consciousness. So for me, as I said, it hasn't been like one single thing. It has been many things. It's like I have gotten a, like a hint or impulse or a piece of a puzzle, and I've been going there, taking that education, meeting that people. But it has been a lot to do with clearing my inner shadow work, like happiness is an inside job. So to bring myself back to life, and all my organs were really, really depleted, and my nervous system were really strained after years and years of this depression. So gradually I have changed my inner reality and to become who I am today.
I love that. And I think let's talk about inner work for a minute, because I feel like that's a place a lot of people, they sort of, let's leave that alone. I don't want to talk about it. So I'd like
Exactly.
your thoughts on why is it important for us to do that inner work?
So as I just described, if we don't want to be enslaved under our 95% of unconscious programs, if we want to be the one, sitting in the front seat and running the show, if we want to be able to have good relationships with ourselves, with others, with money, if we want to have health and, well-being and vitality and longevity, then we have to clear out these inner shits. And the thing is that we can use the inner shits. We can see it as a metaphor that being a fertilizer for inner growth. So the more shit we dig into, we can use as a fertilizer for growth. And the word depression, depressed that I was, if you also look at it as a word of deep rest for body, mind, and soul. So whenever you find yourself in a dark space, maybe you are just, being planted as a new seed for a plant to thrive and to create a new reality. Because for me, this shadow work and the shadow, I'm also writing books about this. So shadow is everything from these unconscious programs to the unresolved traumas and unexpressed emotions, stress, etc., etc. So not only do we have it from this lifetime, from our early environments and our families, etc., we also, all of us have been, reincarnated many lifetimes before, and all of these experiences are stored within your body, in your cells, in your water, in your DNA. And not only that, on top of that, then we have the heritage from, our mother's lines and our father's lines also. So there's a whole lot of shit that is buried beneath, and that most people are not even aware of, but many people are wondering, why don't I find, my true love, or why does my relationships always end this way, or why don't I have a flow with money or in my health or something like that. But everything is just information, and this information is stored, but it's like layers and layers that we don't have access to, because we only have these 5%, and from these 5% we create our realities, which pretty much actually are illusions anyway. So anybody who has seen the film Matrix knows that it's more like a documentary film than it's a movie, because it's like we are holograms living in illusions.
And I think, in my experience, a lot of people avoid the inner work, and, that manifests in, the various addictions and, obsessive and compulsive behaviors. And, it's easier to self-medicate than it is to, and there's a myth there, I think, that people think it's easier to self-medicate than to actually do that inner work. So what is the biggest
I totally
challenge?
agree.
I
Yes,
love that.
I totally agree. And
Awesome.
everything that we can use, we can also abuse. And as you said, we can abuse like food, sex, drugs, work, social media, etc., etc. So many people are using these strategies to numb and to distract ourselves because, as you say, it feels easier in the short run to run away from these, pretty dense and intense experience. There's a reason the trauma is stored within the body, and we don't want to feel it because it's really intense and dense feelings, and it might be overwhelming. But if you don't, the energy is still there. So the energy will be there for as long as you allow it to be there. It's only when you transform it and transmute it into something else that trauma is resolved or released. So I also think that these distractions keeps us busy from what's really important, right?
I think the word distraction kind of says it.
Mm-hmm.
Says it all. We can do the work, or we can actually just self-medicate and pretend we did the work. But at the end of the day, we don't see those results. You talked about seeds growing. We don't see those results until we actually take the time to do the work.
Exactly. And also that so the Buddha, the enlightened one, he discovered, thousands of years ago, the cause of human suffering. So it comes pretty much down to that we have cravings for more money, cravings for bigger houses, for more cars, for boob jobs, etc., etc. And then we have aversions. We have aversions for these strong, intense or dense emotions. We have aversions for conflicts, etc. So we as humans are then, moving from back and forth to trying to avoid the hard shit and want the good shit. And that means that we are never really present, right? We are always, there when I had holiday, life was great, or when I, had my ideal weight, then life was great, or then, when I succeed, then I will. So we are never really present. And these unconscious programs that we have makes sure that we are not present, that we are going to keep us distracting ourselves, because it's so much easier in the short time to also blame others, to blame others for what has happened to me. Oh, it was my father and mother's fault that I became this and that, or my boss is horrible, or my spouse, etc., etc. But it really comes down to being, courageous. And you being from Canada, like the word courage comes from the French word of le cœur, which means the heart. So it takes a lot of, courage to also take radical responsibility for your own situation, because nobody's going to come and save you, right? Like not your spouse, not your parents, not your boss. Nobody's going to save you from your shitty relationship with yourself or others. So the work is all up to you. And if you're not happy, with your situation, you are the one that needs to change it. But it's also easier there to distract yourself, or to numb, or choose to stay for the wrong reasons, etc. Because inner work is tedious, it's challenging, it is taking us out of the comfort zone. And we know that in the comfort zone there's no growth, so all the growth is happening outside the comfort zone. But it comes down to generally that we are afraid of change, or we want changes but we don't want to change.
We want someone else to change, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's, I've had some conversations along these lines, and I'll throw this your way because I'd love your opinion. But if we're not doing the inner work, the only thing we can control is us. So if we keep having these repeat patterns, it's because we haven't learned the lessons we need to learn so that we stop repeating the patterns. I think a lot of people want someone else to change, but at the end of the day, I find you talk about courage, but I would use the word freedom, because if we do the inner work, we are that calm in the storm at all times.
Of course we are. So it takes courage to be free. Yes, and for me, freedom is like one of my core values, to be as free as I can be, you know, free in body, mind, and spirit, and to guide others towards that. But also, what you're saying, I totally agree with, and yeah, it's still easier to distract or numb yourself, or people are in the illusion that they can take shortcuts. And a lot of people are actually also, like in my line of work, are doing a lot of spiritual bypass, you know, like only thinking positive, or do affirmations or visions board or whatever. But if you are only in the mental energy, it is not anchored within your body, it is not embodied. So the experience needs to be embodied, because it's stored. The traumas, the stress, the emotions are stored within the body. So the experiencing of releasing it and transmuting it, to be courageous and to be free, then you need to work with the body, through the body. And the best way, you know, forward, if you want to move forward, if you want to expand, you need, as much as you want to expand, you need to, like the arrow, you know, the arrow, for it to fly away, you need to pull the energy back first, so then it can fly freely. And the more you want to ascend or be enlightened, the deeper you have to dig. So that's the polarity that most people tend to forget, because yeah, it's uncomfortable, obviously, to dig in your shit.
We all want that easy button that just makes things go smoothly, right?
Yeah, and that's just an illusion, because maybe it can happen in one, you know, an instant transformation, but the road and the journey there, you have, you know, a lot of pieces of the puzzles, or a lot of inner work, or a lot of realizations, a lot of experience. So even though that it feels like it might happen in an instant, perhaps there's been, you know, like her whole life to that point, right?
There's a philosopher, and I can't remember his name, but he says, easy choices today, tough life tomorrow. Tough choices today, easy life tomorrow. And I think
Exactly.
that's a good, you know, a good analogy for this. Now, when somebody's coming to you, because I want to make this very easy for people to say, yes, Ulrika's the person for me. What is the biggest challenge that they're facing when they finally reach out to you?
Actually, I think there's quite a few of those challenges, Jeff. Like one of them is that people, they want to have, you know, quick fixes, as we just mentioned. And if they don't have the result that they are imagining, or, you know, have visioned quite quickly, then they might give up. So you need a lot of also this courage and persistence. So that's one challenge. And another challenge is also that even though that we might say that we want to be free and we are doing the inner work, but then, you know, you face this really intense feeling, and then people become scared, right? And they start to manipulate themselves or distract again with various means. So I think the biggest challenge actually is ourselves and our limiting beliefs about ourselves.
Of that. And I think that's, you know, what is possible. And a friend of mine said it well yesterday, that, you know, the world is so used to and jaded. They've been promised instant gratification, quick fixes. And the reality is, you know, what in life that is worth having comes easy.
Exactly, exactly. And as we are governed by these 95% unconsciousness, and we do the same patterns, and we do the same actions and the same behaviors, and we are thinking the same thoughts. Like the thoughts that I'm thinking today are most likely that 95% of the thoughts that I'm thinking today are thoughts that I had yesterday, and thoughts that I will be thinking tomorrow, one way or the other. So it's also wasn't it Einstein who said that, you know, an idiot is the one that keeps doing the same things over and over, but is expecting a different result. So it's like, if you're not happy, with your health, do something differently. If you're not happy with your relationship, you know, what's your part in it? What do you need to do to change the relationship? Maybe you need to do this, maybe you need to walk away. Because as free souls, we have free choices, right? But if we are conditioned with these programs, so even though that we are free souls with free choices, the choices is really, really limited because we don't have access to our full power, our full potential. And also I'm a licensed physiotherapist, so I both have the Eastern perspective and the Western perspective on the body and the alignment, body, mind, spirit. And for thousands of years, we have been conditioned that, like the science is managing, managing science, etc., the mental aspects. And then like the church are managing the spiritual aspects. So there's been like this huge separation in body, mind, and spirit, created consciously a long time ago. And, it's impossible. You cannot separate body, mind, and spirit because they're so intertwined. And that's why people can have so many physical symptoms not being at ease. They have dis-eases because the symptoms might be in the body, but it might be spiritual or emotional pain or stress. So then we have these symptoms, and then we go and take these medications, or as you say, self-medicate with this and that. And in our world, in our societies, we are really encouraging people to work a lot, right? Like workaholic is seen like, with glory and he and she is really good. Exactly. But from the yogic perspective, that is really a grave imbalance in the so-called root chakra. So that means that you don't feel the worthiness of yourself. So you have developed a strong confidence about yourself that you are only good and worthy of love when you do, when you perform, when you deliver, when you are effective, etc. So being a workaholic is really an imbalance.
That's great insight. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Now I want to know, I understand you have a life motto that you use to help people with. What is your life motto and how are you using that to help others?
Thank you. So my life motto, and also a reminder to myself, because I sometimes say that you work with the things that you need the most yourself. And I need a constant reminder to breathe conscious breaths and to be present. So my motto is relax, release, receive. So we can't do any changes at all if we are not aware. And when we are stressed and constantly on the move, whether it's, mentally with a lot of thoughts, over analyzing, overwhelmed, over analytical, etc. So first we need to calm down the nervous system. We need to relax. And when we relax, old shit comes to the surface. So the metaphor is like a garden. And if my garden is full of weed, the first thing that I need to do is to pull the weeds up with the roots, because there's no room, right? The garden is full of weed. So even though that I want to have new plants, I can't because there's no space. So then I create the space by pulling the weeds with the roots. And then I have this beautiful garden where I can plant new seeds of what I really want to have more of in my life. And then you are able to receive. So my motto is relax, release, and receive. And that is, in all areas of life.
And I think there's an old Chinese saying or cone where they talk about, the teacher pouring tea into somebody's cup. And, the student says, master, the cup is full. And the master says, exactly. Until you make room for learning, you're not going to learn.
Exactly. And then again, that we are still living in times where people are looking for outer gurus or teachers or, And that for me is the old way. That is the old paradigm, because we all have everything that we need inside of us. However, each and one of us, we are like key holders. We have different keys, and these keys can unlock the gifts of others, right? So I have a gift that you need, Jeff, and you have gifts that I need. So this is what we are doing together, that we are unlocking our own full potential. But everything is already within us, even though it's layered with all these shits, these conditioned programs and traumas and stress, etc. So the more of these programs and shit that we release and transmute, the more access we have to our vital life force energy, which is the connection to source.
I love that. And I think one of, I'm a connector, I'm a networker, and you mentioned that you're an empath in your input, and that's for me. I'm an empath too, and one of the challenges I've had in life is people give me their baggage, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just put it in put it in storage with everything else. And somebody gave me the gift and said, when somebody drops their baggage on your door, you can thank them and return to sender. It's not yours to keep. And just that little aha moment, it helped me. I can be empathetic, I can help somebody. And then when we're done, I do my inner work and I clear out the cobwebs, so to speak, so that I don't have any of their baggage left, because I got enough of my own. I don't need more baggage from the universe.
Yeah, that is really good. I could use some of that, because not only do I that people give their luggage to me, it's like I take it on, voluntarily, like, and unconsciously, like, oh, hey, just put it in the bag. But the way I see it also is that, the whole range of emotions. So if I feel sad, or if I feel sorrow or fear, and I'm thinking, is this mine? And maybe not all of it is, but as I still experience it within me, these emotions still exist within me. So it's not always easy to discern which is mine or which is yours, because we are all entangled. We can tap into our energetic fields, and we are in these amplified fields, these morphic fields. And there's so many morphic fields that we can tap into. So it's not always easy to know, is this mine or not? And then on top of that, you have all these, past lifetimes and reincarnations that might be triggered in this or that situation. And you might be thinking that, oh my God, I thought I had already cleared that up, but it's just, another layer coming to the surface. So it's not that's why I said it's like an ongoing job. And for me, the evolution is to be the best version of myself as I can every day, by clearing out and clearing out and clearing out, and planting new seeds and to receive. So what do I really want out of life, and what do I need to do to get there? And the change, this old saying, the change that I want to see and experience, I cannot search for it out in the outer realms. I mean, there, or distract myself there, or numb myself there, or this and that. So all these distractions takes me from my inner reality, my inner realm, and that is the only experience, as we have been talking about, that I can change.
I love that. And I think what I'm hearing in all of this is that freedom to choose. You can either choose the self-medication and to feel okay, or you can do the inner work and actually find that freedom. And I think, I'm going to just say that I think some people are going to choose the self-medication and the instant gratification. And I think some are going to choose freedom. And, the way I'm hearing it and the way I see the world is they have to want the freedom more than they want to feel instant gratification. Is that fair?
Exactly. And also, like, I do karma clearings and soul readings. So each and one of us are souls having physical experiences. It's not only that we have a soul, we are the soul. And my body in this lifetime is the vessel for the soul, as your body is your vessel. However, before we incarnated into this lifetime, we, you know, sort of wrote contracts to ourselves what we want to experience. So we all have different assignments and different missions here on Earth. I mean, not everybody can be like a spiritual healer, because if the world, was full of spiritual healers, who would garden and provide us with the food or drive us with the bus back and forth to our families and etc. So we all have our different assignments. However, there are so many of us that are not tapping into the soul and the soul's mission and the blueprint of the soul, because again, it's more convenient to stay in the comfort zone. This is what I know, even though that I don't like it, I can handle it, I can navigate it. A therapist once said to me that, yes, it's more comfortable to live in hell than, to try the unknown paradise. And I was like, yeah. So and again, like you asked previous, why we need to do the inner work, because if I am governed by these 95% of my unconscious programs, they're running the show. This means that I cannot make the conscious choices that I need to do to make the change. So the very first step is to become aware, right? I cannot change anything if I'm not aware that this is a fucked up program, right? So my journey was also a lot about I came to a big insight when I was doing a silent retreat that my soul was not fucked up. It was my programs that were really fucked up, that had brought me into being sick, depressed, and suicidal, but my soul was whole and intact. And that was a big realization to me, because I always sort of diminished myself and hated myself for not being normal, or being, that I couldn't navigate in my own life, which everybody did, and it seemed so easy for them. And for me, it was always a struggle. Until I discovered that it was my programs that kept me small, and my programs that kept me back.
Well, and if I may, one of the greatest lies I've believe that society passes on to people is that everybody else is normal but you. And so we're always trying to become someone else. And I
Exactly.
love your conversation about looking at my programs, looking at me, and really truly it's about accepting who you're meant to be.
It is, and that's the whole journey in itself. And for us living beings, we want to, I mean, there are like 3 traits that we are really, we are all having these cravings for. This is what we want. We want to be acknowledged, we want to be included, and we want to be loved. So here we are, looking for the inclusion and the acknowledgement and the love here in the outer realms. And so we are searching there, and we are looking here, and we are looking there. And again, we are looking for the wrong things in the wrong places, because I can never be in a good relationship. I can never love anybody as much as I love myself. So I can never experience unconditional love if I don't give it to myself first. This old cliche with the oxygen mask, like you need to put it on yourself when you fly. And this is what goes all day in all situations, so for me, when I was depressed and suicidal, I came also with this insight that, okay, either I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, and then I will be dead. And then I am of no use to my small kids at the time, my baby girl and my baby boy. Then I'm of no use if I'm dead. So it is my responsibility to tend to myself, to my needs, to fill my cup so I can give my kids. And this is, And most of us are also taught that it's more noble to give, right? It's more noble and more lovable to give. But energy doesn't work like that. Energy goes both ways. It's like the constant exchange where we transmit and receive. We transmit and receive. We're like big antennas all the time. And it's like a bank account, really. If I'm only taking, out money, I give, what will happen to the bank account? Well, I will be bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
So we need to do these depositions, these investments in ourselves on a daily dose. It's not like, oh, I went on a course one time and now I'm, healed or done.
I'm
No,
fixed.
every day. Exactly. Like, and I really, has been the biggest lesson for me, the biggest challenge. Like, I really today, I live as I teach, I tend to myself like 4 hours a day with things that are good for me, things that I love. And from that place, I can give to others.
And I think that's, the whole point of this podcast is we're talking about wellness journey. And, it's a fascinating thing, but it seems like we've gotten so busy chasing shiny objects, we're not taking care of ourselves. And, this is a conversation I have with my clients, with my wife, with my kids. You got to take care of yourself. And, I laughed a little when you talk about the oxygen mask, because that's the story I use over and over with my clients. And every now and then they'll look at me and go, Jeff, did you put your oxygen mask on first today? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
crap.
Exactly. That's what I mean. These are the programs that we are here to be in service to others, and we are here to give our gifts away. But so that's why it took me so long time to do what I preach. So before I have any clients, before I do anything, I tend to myself. So that's like the whole morning. And then after lunch, I can do a couple of hours of work.
Excellent. Now, I could talk to you all day because this is a fun conversation, but I want to be mindful that I'm aware it is getting evening in Sweden right now. So, two more questions and then I'll let you back to your day. First question, if somebody's watching this and they really like you and they want to find out how to work with you, where can they go to connect with you and learn more about how you actually work together?
Thank you. So obviously I have a website right now. It's under reconstruction, but it should be up and running within a couple of days. So the address is www. It's ULLISKARLSSON.com, ulliskarlsson.com. And there you find my books, 2:47 a.m., The Journey Home to My Heart, my autobiography from being suicidal to where I am now, and this book with a controversial title of Holy Fuck and Sacred Water, The Secret Connections to Everything, mentioned as the book of the year by its readers and sold in 17 countries. And then this book, The Sacred Soul, A Divine Evolution Through Time and Space, which is here to remind you who you are on a soul level and why you are here. So they are on my website, and my services, my products are also there. And I'm also on Instagram as Ulrika Ullis Karlsson. Do you write down my name in your
I'll
notes?
put it in the show notes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. And I am on Facebook also.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Now, you are the expert at you and all the many, many, many amazing things you do. Is there anything I should have asked you for our listeners that I haven't asked you yet?
Thank you, Jeff. So for me, two things. First of all, I just want to say thank you that you have listened. And if there's only like one sentence or one meaning that I am saying that is resonating with you, then it's like ripple effects. Then I have paid back my karma and the circle is closed. Because when I was depressed and suicidal, I heard someone said something I can't remember on Oprah Winfrey show, and it stop me from commit suicide that day. So perhaps there's something that I'm saying that is resonating with you. So that's good. That's my intention. And the other thing is, if you are in doubt, if you are at crossroads, if you need somebody to hold your hand, connect with people that has walked the path before you. And also a good way to start is with your breath. The fun thing is that the Swedish word for breath is andetag, and ande is spirit and tag is to connect. So it literally means to connect with spirit.
Wow.
So many of us that are suffering from mental illnesses or, a lot of stress or pain in our body, mind, or soul, it's actually due to a restricted or limited breathing. So to start with your breath is a good way to start, as we are being born with a breath, and the day we die, we do it with a breath. So the breath to connect you with your body, it's one way through.
I love it. Well, Ulrika, it was a real pleasure to meet you, and I want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with me and my audience today.
And thank you so much, Jeff, for having me, and I also enjoyed it. And if you would like to have me back, I would be happy to do so if there's any questions from your listeners, etc. But thank you so much for this talk and for the opportunity to give back in service as a ripple effect.
Well, I appreciate, I'm a big fan of the ripple effect, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our show. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we invite you to either click the link below or scan the QR code to register and listen to other episodes of our podcast. Or if you think your business or you would be a great guest to be on our show, we're always looking for experts in one of the 9 elements of holistic wellness. We'd love to have you. You can either click the link below or you can scan the QR code and complete our speaker intake form. Thank you, and to your wellness.